Hello and welcome back to PA Truck Up. I'm your host Manny, and today we have Bree. How we doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Obviously, we've just quickly caught up. But if you sort of want to take through like what you do, how you go into this industry, and where you're currently at.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Bree. I am an aspiring strength and conditioning coach, and I'm currently getting my degree at the University of Louisville. I have some experience with football, specifically in the weight and condition weight room, as well as sports science. So wearable technology. I am looking to be able to get back to power anything in the football world, honestly, whether that be collegiate or professional. And then eventually see myself getting into more of the private sector. But right now, I'm just working towards my CSCS. So just studying for that and then hoping to get more hands-on experience in the future.
Love that. What's something that as you go through sort of education and these internships, what's something that's like keeps firing you up to come back? Here's a quick word from our sponsor, TeamBuilder. I've personally been using TeamBuilder since 2022, and it's genuinely changed how I run primitive athletics. Writing programs, delivering them to the clients and athletes, tracking their progress, and it all lives in one place. My clients get their sessions on their phones. I see their progress, I get messages from them, and we are able to stay in constant contact and be able to track every single metric that I need. I spend less time on admin and more time actually coaching. Check out teambuilder.com, and if you use promo code PATruckup all together, you get 30-day free trial and you get access to the AMS system.
Yeah, I see the motivation of like my peers around me who are all interning at the same time. I started this journey in 2022. And if I would have stuck with it without taking time off, I would be at a place where I feel like I definitely would have my CSCS now. And then when I look at other people, especially the women in the field, it is motivating. Some would be like, oh my gosh, like almost having like imposter syndrome or just being envious of other people. But honestly, I see other women in this space and some of the men that I worked with around that same time and see their growth, and it's just motivating me to get to that place because some of the conversations we would have about how difficult it is, especially as an adult that goes back to school to be able to juggle things, work, and have internships. It makes it feel like sometimes it's impossible. And so to see them accelerating and getting these dream positions, it's just super motivating for me to be like, okay, stay the course, make sure you get to exactly where you're trying to go.
Yeah. What's with the path that you've sort of taken, how have you sort of kept that motivation to like keep going even though it's taking you longer than you perhaps would have liked?
Yeah, so I would say motivated by the athletes that I still work with, right? So like I still work with some youth athletes, some athletes that play overseas basketball. And it's always reassuring when they're like, this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Like you're great at this, you know what you're doing. And for me, sometimes that could be reassurance that I really need. And I just think the fire never loses. Like I never lose it. I tell people all the time, being at the University of Louisville with the football program, I didn't make any money as an intern, but those 2 seasons were the best times of my life, like and that's how I know this is exactly where I'm supposed to be because for you to not make a dollar and feel as fulfilled as you do, it just pushes me to be like, "Okay, if I make any money from this and still find the same fulfillment, like, this is what we need to do."
Yeah. I think that's an important thing to talk about in SNC, and it's like your first couple internships you don't make anything. So it's like it really teaches you like if you want to be in it, you're not really in it for the money. Like you're in
Oh,
it
yeah, no.
because you want to impact athletes, you want to change the way that their outcome potentially is.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, the money is not there, the time is there, the sweat is there. It is long hours, and it is something that will expose if it is for you or not, and it really takes that having a passion for something and being disciplined and being able to really put in hard work is where will be exposed in an internship. Like, I have seen people who are passionate about that specific sport that they are interning with, but when it comes to putting the work in and being able to see something through, they're like, "Yeah, it's just probably not for me." I really enjoy it or I enjoy the sport, but as far as, like, me being in this space, it's probably not for me. So, internships are a blessing, and I know that we spoke about this, like, briefly, but I think there is a benefit to interning earlier in your school and career.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think, and again, I've said this publicly before, and it's like I think to be a great coach, you do need to have that like gen pop or working when there's you're not making a lot. Like you need to go
Mhm,
through the you need to kind of go through the ringer to realize, okay, these are also just humans that are walking into the weight room. Like they can have a bad
mhm.
day. They probably are having a bad day. Like
Yeah.
they're student athletes, so it's like, how can I, even if it's just not letting them think about whatever is the issue for an
Mhm.
hour, 45 minutes, like that becomes really powerful to
Yeah.
what our role is. So, like, I think there's a conversation I've had recently where it was like, when you're a registered dietitian or some forms of PTs, like, you have to have different types of experience to be accredited.
Mhm.
So, say, like, I know for sure dietitians need to go through like hospital setting, general health, like they have to have like different types of industry experience to become accredited. Like I think that would also be a great thing in SNC in general. Like you have to spend 3 months in Gen Pop. You have to do 3 months in like collegiate or youth athletes. Like just have different things, different sets to your skills.
Mhm.
I think that would be a really good, again, logistically nightmare, but
Yeah.
that would help a lot.
Absolutely. Seeing different levels of your skill set is always going to help you become more well-rounded. And I think that here in the US, it is a huge thing that a lot of us where we intern is generally the spaces that we end up in. So you can really become siloed to that specific sport, especially if it is, one of the bigger revenue generating sports like football, basketball, because it takes a lot to be able to run those sports. But I do see such a benefit to some of the other strength coaches that have done Olympic and have done like volleyball and then also go over to soccer and do different things like that. But they really get to see the love for helping individuals and not just such a siloed focus in one sport.
Yeah. With some of like the athletes that you currently have, what are some focuses and like how are you managing your time?
Uh, as far as like training some of the athletes I have now,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. So right now, I've got a couple of guys that just came back from overseas basketball, so they're in off season. And the youth athletes I work with are generally more basketball, even though I definitely have a love for football. So we're really focusing on training them 34 times a week and focusing on force absorption and really focusing on deceleration and cutting. I know that sometimes that when I explain things, they're like, "Oh, I know you deal with the football guys, and maybe that's not necessary." And really breaking things down for them and understanding, especially some of my younger kids that deal with a lot of patellar issues, Achilles just aching, and hip issues. I'm like, we're always talking about the force of production and like, okay, be stronger, be faster, use a vert max. But my biggest focus this summer has been about force absorption and really getting them to understand the benefit of that. And so it takes a little bit more of a connection because I'm not sure who it was, but she was just on a podcast and I hate that I can't think of her name, but she was talking about, as a coach, the benefits that you see in strength and conditioning and sports science. Sometimes you kinda have to pivot from that to give the parents what they want or the athlete what they want. So there are days where I'm there like, "Oh, we wanna do strength and we wanna do sprinting," and that's great, but my biggest focus right now is focusing on my athletes really from the inside out, really focusing on some of the bigger issues that no one sees.
What's the sort of mitigation work that you're doing to protect them from the loads in themselves?
Uh, Protecting them is great, but I think that it's hard for some of the athletes, basketball specifically. Football is hard. I know that generationally it has always been like a full year sport, whether it's conditioning, off season, what have you. But I feel like with basketball, with AAU and the way that things are transcending, these kids are playing constantly all year round. And so my biggest thing with them when it comes to their recovery, the load is always there, fatigue wise, just running. So I'm really helping them focus on their bodies in the beginning. So even if that's just getting them to warm up for 10 to 15 minutes and be intentional, okay, do pogos, do a little more depth drops, different things like that before getting your body moving and just like overloading it. And then I see a lot of young kids that want to do the cool, they want to do what I say, the sexy Instagram stuff that might not even have a prescription behind it, might not have a program behind it, but it's just more so for what is popular at the time, and so my biggest thing is, like, how do you stay relevant in a world where if it's not cool, many parents don't wanna invest or athletes don't wanna invest.
Okay, so that's a great thing to get into. How are you talking to them? Like that is still an important thing that we need to focus on when there is so much outside noise to like do the Instagram nice stuff.
Yeah, it's a hard thing, but I think that when you speak with such conviction and you really believe in the work that you do, that's always going to speak volumes. Whether you're talking to the athlete or you're talking to the parent. And I think for the athlete themselves, sometimes it's easier for me. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I do have a bigger following. So sometimes when the athletes see that, it's more enticing to them. But versus like the parents, what they're seeing, I really have to express to them like my interest and why, kind of nerd out on certain things for them to be like, oh, okay, you really know what you're talking about. That makes sense. Especially when you see some other coaches or trainers that just work specifically with, okay, we're just going to jump fat, your jump higher, get your vert there, we're going to get faster, which, all those things are beneficial. But I think that for me, I'm very big on creating the most resilient athlete overall, just human being that they can be, because there's so many more benefits to understanding their body and really preparing them for what's outside of the current season, what's outside of their current goals. And I think that works for me very well. So I'm very well rounded. I love to communicate with people, and I think that being able to move just as well with some of the athletes that I train is something that's impactful to them too, because they can see I'm bought into the movements that I'm expressing to them. And same thing with the parents, like being able to communicate well with them. I am an older adult, so for me, I'm like I communicate with the adults well, with coaches well, and with the athletes. I'm able to really have that connection.
With the parent piece, which I always find this fascinating, is like how are you I'll walk up a little bit. Parents, so I've recently found out the importance of a parent's influence in the training.
Hmm.
So I was currently like I was going through some issues where I was trying to get okay, so European sports is usually governed by like governing bodies and the government funding that gets applied to them. Whereas in the US is a little bit different where you've got like sponsors, different types of fundings, alumni, donors, like people that contribute outside of the government. But my issue was I was trying to put on a program, but the government funding agencies weren't interested in putting that on because it didn't come from them.
Hmm.
So why I then got fed up and frustrated. So I reached out to mums. Like I made a group chat with mums and I was like, look, this is what I want to do.
Hmm.
What's your thoughts? Can I borrow your kids? And they were
Hmm.
like, of course you can. So I did like 2 trial sessions. They went really well. But now like the mums and dads are bought into the program for their kids. So it's like it was one of those that like communicating with the parents become really important because ultimately they're the decision makers. Like the kids are just there because their parents told them to.
Yeah,
So like
essentially.
how have you found like sort of communicating with the parents? Like what's those conversations like? And how much of their buy-in then influences your training with them? Today's episode is sponsored by Eccentric. You all know I'm a big fan of keeping training simple and effective, and flywheel training fits that perfectly. Now, I've been using Eccentric K-Box since 2021, and it's one piece of equipment, endless exercises, and resistance that adjusts to you automatically. However much effort you put in is what you get out. No guessing the weight, no loading plates, just move. And the flywheel matches your effort perfectly. Check out the K box or the K pulley at the link in the description.
Yeah, I think especially with any youth athlete, even with some of those that are in college, you really have to have the parent buy-in. Like that's the consumer ultimately because they're the one really kind of pushing their kids. And you'll have athletes that are like, "Hey, I saw this person on Instagram or this person my friend's training with, and I want to go with that." But for them to be connected and for you to get paid, the parents have to be bought in. And so having that great line of communication with them of their understanding of what your goals are for athletes in general, what your philosophy is, and then also they're able to see for themselves like the work that you put in. And I think that that's really major. I'm very big on asking them what they feel like their kids can do better at. Like, as your athlete, you see them grow. What do you think that they're missing, or what do you think they do very well? My biggest thing to explain to them is like a lot of the athletes that I come up against, like they God gifted and talent, they're great. But a lot of what makes someone elite and makes them more bulletproof and I would say more appeasing to coaches because they can last for a season is the things that they're doing, the great things that they do consistently and very well. So that's why I focus on like, hey, well, what do you think your areas of opportunity are? And for parents, I think that is to them, they're like, oh, well, I really never thought about that specifically because I'm like, as an individual, how can I help them add value to that? How can we work on your first step? How can we do certain things and really work on your hip tightness? And so I always try to break it down to not what my credentials are or what I can really do for their athlete, but like how they see their athlete is performing, what they feel like they need, and then I can fill in some of those gaps for them. Because as an individual, performance coach, you're gonna have to work well with their coaches they already have in their practice AAU teams, their regular teams. They might have a physical therapist that they go to. And so it's not about me being able to do everything on my own, but like, how do I add value to what you're already doing?
100%. With you said something earlier that I kind of want to highlight a little bit more of. And it's something that I've kind of been speaking a lot on the podcast as well. Is like they see you train, so like they know that you're also about it. With I'm guessing the parents will also get to see elements of that. How does that then sort of like influence the way that they're like, oh, actually, I saw this from you. Can we try that?
Mhm. I think it's a gift and a curse for me, obviously, because right now, like, I'm kinda going through a transition with, like, some of the social media stuff that you'll see from me, and while I do a lot of Olympic lifts, I do more, strength training and weight progression, I do the athletic stuff, and, sometimes that could be a good thing because the parents could see that I do that, but then sometimes I think that my presence on social media can make them feel a little more eerie because 'cause they're like, "Okay, is she a coach? Is she an influencer?" And so it really takes for me to be in different community spaces where I just did a camp over the weekend with elite athletes and being able to have those conversations and coach people up as they are training. I think I get more interest from parents and athletes through that than I do from my social media or from them seeing me doing the work because I think sometimes that can convolute of like, okay, is she worried more about her own presence or is she actually invested in the work that she's putting in with athletes?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I think again, I've only seen you coaching, so I don't know like
Mhm.
the others. Like, I also don't give a. Apologies for the French, but I don't give a fuck who what followers.
Yeah.
Like, so I've just like I've seen some dope stuff from you, so like that's where my interest is. But like it
Hmm.
makes sense, like and like the practical element becomes the key here. We are back. We had some technical difficulties, but we are back. But we were sort of talking about like that word of mouth spreading and becoming a coach for the community you have as opposed to like, oh, I've got clients and athletes I'm with because of the other stuff that I do. Sorry, go on.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. So for me, the word of mouth really is the best thing for me. They're able to see who I am, be comfortable around me. And I always feel like being in the real world is beneficial. I know that a lot of people see social media as the benefit for them and getting more clientele. But for me, it's actually opposite. I think that more people get to see who I am. They get to understand that I really have a love for my craft when I'm in person, and which we can definitely dive more into this. But just going to the university and working with football at a different level, it was a distraction for a lot of people because they couldn't understand if I was serious about the work that I was putting in the weight room or if I was just really kinda looking to be there just to be there. And so I think that for me, like the word of mouth of people talking to other people about my commitment and wow, she has a lot of vast knowledge and that resonates with people. And I think that in a world that is always, technology is going to continue to advance, but being able to have people that speak very highly of you to other people in other rooms that you're not in is always going to be a benefit to you.
100%. I think because I've had a wide experience of like collegiate, professional, and like now I'm more private. Like I can see like how having to prove yourself in that sense would be frustrating, but you're just turning up to prove them wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where, as a woman in this field, I'm sure, and I've watched your other interviews and what that's like, but and the conversation can go many different ways, but I feel like sometimes I always get a look at me as she doesn't look like she's a strength coach, or she doesn't look like she would be into sports the way that she is, or really invested. And then you have other people that feel like I have gotten the opportunities I've gotten because of what I look like, or the connections I've created. And so for me, it's one of those things where I'm constantly always proving myself. I'm constantly always proving people wrong, and I think that I mean, I love it because I have such a love for this that for me, I'm just like, just wait and see. Like, The rooms that you think that my looks or who I am get me into is not what keeps you there. I tell that to people all the time. Getting in the room does not keep you there. It does not gain the respect of the people that are in the room. So that's when the real work gets put in, and I think that like I'm constantly always striving for that moment of like, oh well, she knows what she's talking about. Does it suck to always have to feel like you have to get there to prove that? Yes, but anyone in athletics, anyone in strength and conditioning, you have such a you have an ego about you anyway. So like to prove yourself is just not it's nothing. And so I think that I just really dive into that and I for years, I think that I kinda strayed away from it. I was just like, "Okay, well, I'm always being told that, like, my looks are an issue or I'm distracting the athletes, I'm distracting the coaches." And so I would shy away from a lot of opportunities because I felt like, "Am I only getting this because of what I look like?" Or, "This person is interested in me," or, like, ulterior motives. And I think that I created such a self-sabotaged thing for myself to where now I'm like, I'm getting into this room, and when you see what I know, like, you'll be sorry that you didn't invite me sooner or you weren't open to who I am and what my knowledge is. So tempted a curse, but now I've stepped into that.
And that, like, I do get it because, like, again, I'm public. I'm out here. Like, people
Mhm,
know what I do and who I am. But like, I think that's what a lot of people also don't realize is like there is people who like to talk other things and like to tear it down. But like, I've always said, like, and again, I don't speak about this publicly because like I don't give it attention like at
mhm,
all. Like, I don't care for it. But like, if people spend half of the time they do speaking about me and what I do, doing it themselves, they'll probably
mhm,
be where I am. So, like, for me, like, I don't give attention because for me, it's like, I'm just doing me. Like, if I like someone, I'm going to fucking bring them on. Like,
yeah,
I've had students on, I've had
mhm,
Mike Stone on. Like, to me, like, I just like a good conversation. So for me, I'm never going to be like, oh, ulterior motive wise.
yeah,
I don't care. Like, are you
yeah,
fundamentally a good human? And are we going to get on? Like, that's what I care about. And like for other people, like I do get a lot of shit. Like, oh, how's he managed to get X, Y, Z?
mhm,
Like,
right,
if people went through my message lists and seen how many people reject coming on, like it's a lot, and it's like
yeah,
I don't take that personally. So it's like,
can't,
yeah. It's wild because like people do think I just come across things like
mhm.
like what you've just said. Like, we work fucking hard to do it.
Yeah, and for a long time, I'm like, I've downplayed it, and there's been so many people who are like, "You would never know, like, why is such and such not on your resume? Why do you?" Because I've always downplayed it because I've fed into the BS that other people have done or said, and I'm like, you're doing exactly what they set out to do, which is discourage you. And so now I'm like, yeah, I've been in these rooms. Yes, I'm passionate about this, and I'm big on having very transparent conversations of what it's like to be a woman in this field because it's not easy. Like, it's not easy in general. And so I tell people all the time, like, strength coaches are different because, like, sometimes, like, our pay does not equate. The time you put in does not equate to a lot. And so the passion that is there, the hard work that gets put in, like, you really have all the rights to have your egos. You have all the rights to feel exactly how you are and I like who you are. And I think that's important. And so for me, like, I always want to speak into not being the woman hire. So, like, just speaking to a lot of younger women that I've seen that are interested in strength and conditioning or they're interested in being an AT and working in these fields. Like, sometimes they feel like they have to take different entry points. And so I was talking to someone recently and she was talking about how there wasn't a lot of interest or availability in strength and conditioning, but she might be able to get in with like recruiting. And for me, I am big on like standing your ground. Like, it might not be the opportunity for you. And I was just like, I'll be very frank and honest with you. Like, recruiting is not for me. I know that in a lot of the universities around here, younger, vibrant, pretty individuals, like, that's great. Like, put them on the front lines for recruiting, but that's not what I'm looking to do. And so, if it's not in a space of like sports, like heavy into like the conditioning piece or the strength conditioning, sports science, it's not for me. And so I tell people, I'm like, stand your ground and know that the best opportunity is going to come. Don't let other people utilize you for what they think you're going to be great at, but like really stick to who you are and what you want to do because There are a lot of spaces that women are traditionally in when it comes to sports, and I'm very big on making sure that I don't conform to any of those.
Yeah. So there's a quote that I like to say to myself, and it's be so undeniably good that it's hard to ignore.
Mhm. It's a good
And
one.
it's that thing where it's like be stubborn with it. Like
Mhm.
be so stubborn that they can't deny what you've done. And it's like it's kind of that piece of again, I don't know, like traditional roles are bullshit. Because like just because we've got different parts somewhere else doesn't like we still go through the same university courses, we still go through
Yeah.
the same accreditations, and if we pass them we're the fucking same. Like it's the
Mhm.
same. There's no difference. Our brains work the same.
But I
So
will challenge that and say in sports like football, specifically basketball, I think it's so much harder, like, even though, like, we all have the credentials, but I've seen it up close and personal that there could be someone who played that sport traditionally in college for themselves, and some athletes would automatically generate to them, like, like, gravitate towards them because they're like, "Oh, they probably know more," but I'm like, "This is strength and conditioning. This is not, I'm not coming in to be, like, a position coach or anything like that, but I've seen gravitations more towards men in some of those spaces, and I'm just like, to know it and be great at it, it really doesn't matter whether you play the sport or you're a man or you're a woman. If you understand the benefits, you understand the athletes and the work that needs to be put in, I think that you should be on the same playing field. And I mean, nothing's gonna be fair, but the hard work that you put in should be able to show without like bias from other people.
100%. I think that I'd say though is again, be so undeniably good it's hard to ignore.
Yeah, truly.
I kind of also want to get a little bit of more of this from you, but obviously you've kind of previously mentioned, but like being a mum in this field is also a little bit different. And
Hmm.
obviously like some of the time that you've had to take away was to like bring that side of your family up.
Hmm.
How have you found like managing that and like the transitions that, you know, S&C isn't like your typical full-time work, you are working like two full-time jobs in one and still
Hmm.
being able to keep that peace and like having a family and like making sure that you're there for them.
Yeah, it's not easy by any means, regardless. I mean, anybody will tell you. I think one of the biggest lessons that one of my first strength conditioning coaches at U of L said was like, "Are you ready for like not to be present with your family? Are you ready for that? Are you ready to take that on?" And was just very frank with the fact that like it could break up a lot of relationships. It could put a damper on a lot of things that you do outside of this space because it becomes your whole identity essentially. And it's why I really took time off. Like, yes, I did have my son and I already have an older daughter, but for me, it was something I'm like, I'm still pushing towards it of being in college athletics of when I get my CSCS. But I'm realistic of will that work-life balance work for me as a single mom? If I had, a spouse that I was working with that understood that I had, long hours, it might be different. But I think that the passion I have and then my kids are able to see that I'm going towards something that I love is a reason why I'm okay with spending some of that time away from them. And I know that I would want them to do the same as far as like going after what they truly believe in and really investing in their dreams and aspirations. And so that gives me a lot of comfort. But no one likes to be away from their kids constantly. You know what I mean? Like it sucks. It does. And I feel like there's a lot of times where I'm choosing either to be a great mom or I'm choosing to either be great at what I love to do, and I think that that has really clashed a lot over the years, and now I'm just being more realistic about it. I mean, you have been in college sports, and there really is no excuses for not being present. Like, you're there before the sun rises. A lot of times you're still there after the sun goes down. And I think that now that's why I'm being realistic of like for me personally, I'm like, I want to at least get the opportunity to be at the college level and the professional level, but I'm very realistic with myself that private sector is probably where I'll be able to have more of a work-life balance and be able to invest into both lanes, because I feel like in that space, you're gonna have to choose one or the other as far as, like, being a great mom, not just being present for my kids, but, like, being a very invested and present mother, but I do feel like it's okay to be selfish. And some people might, not agree with that, but I do think that it's absolutely okay to be selfish with what you love. Because if you think about CEOs of companies that start up and things like that, they spend 12, 14 hours away from their kids, their families. So it's that same type of intensity of it doesn't last forever, but you're also not going to be in your prime forever to have opportunity. And I think that that's where I'm like, okay, I'm really ready to take whatever chances I need to take to make sure one, my kids are taken care of, but that I'm putting myself in the best position to be great at something I love.
So I think this is great to highlight because, well, one, it shows that like it's okay not to have that linear progress through this industry.
Mhm.
Like it's okay to. So I started university at 23 or
Okay.
24. It was one of those. So like again, I was a mature student, but like I had already like worked as a gym instructor, PT, like publicly. So like
Mhm.
in Gen Pop, public gym. Then I went and got my degree. Then I did collegiate. Then I did pro sports. Now I'm
Mhm.
private. And like as great as like collegiate, as great as like professional sports is, I've got so much more freedom in
Mhm.
private sector, where it's like I'm able to hang out with my fiance in the mornings.
Yeah.
I'm good
Yeah.
times with her. Like as soon as my day ends, we just have dinner and hang out. But it's like it's that thing of like linear paths are great for people who want to just do one thing. But like
Mhm.
if family starts getting involved and you want to have a really good chance and also develop a family, like what you're saying, being realistic becomes really important. And it's
Yeah.
like I kind of want to dive into a little bit deeper with you on that one. Like, what are some things that you're now doing to be more realistic with yourself?
Yeah, I'm really investing myself in creating connections with people outside of just straight college. And so I think that when I first started at the university in 2022, I was constantly like, for me, I'm always shooting my shot when it comes to, I don't shoot my shot at people. It's more so shooting my shot for like career wise and networking and, people like Stephanie Mack and Jade Taylor. Like I was DMing them like, hey, I would just learn to love from you, the team. I see your team's coming here, blah, 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 blah. Like I would love to even connect for breakfast and really creating those connections with people that I knew that were like immersed in that similar culture that I wanted. But now I'm like, okay, like let me talk to some people that work with high school athletics. Let me talk to some people that are private sector and really get an understanding of why, maybe they have made these changes. And I think that's what I'm doing intentionally now is as I still have about a year and a half of school left before I'm like completely done. And I want to know what realistically I can do instead of just getting to the end of my college career and being like, okay, delusionally like, oh, I'm going to go D1 and I'm going to be in a football program. And, because everyone, like, that's the go to. But is that what's going to make sense for my family and for myself? And I think that it's one thing to be delusional about like your optimism of getting where you want to go. And it's also one thing of being realistic about what your mental, your emotional health, what that's going to look like. And I think that that's where I'm at now. It's like, okay, I know that selfishly on my bucket list, I do want to be on staff and a paid capacity and I do want to have those opportunities, but also I want to have a life that, like you said, like I want to enjoy moments because those won't come back.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing now. It's like being really intentional about those that I'm networking with that are like outside of just college or pros to really have a good understanding of what the best fit is for me.
Yeah, I think you've nailed something just now, and it's being realistic and knowing that there's going to be an after school thing that you're going to have to think about. And I think for
Mhm.
a lot of students, it is that blind optimism where they're like, "I'm really good. I'll get D1 contract," but it's like there's only so many D1 contracts that
Yeah.
you can get. Right? And it's that thing of like, how can you set yourself up for after school? And I think what you're
Yeah.
doing is great because like you're intentionally making connections that even if like they can't personally hire you, you've got
Mhm.
enough pieces of the puzzle to make the puzzle for yourself, to create
Yeah.
that job for yourself, to create that space for you to go into.
And
Like,
that's major. I don't think that there's enough conversation around that because I think, when you're in the university or whatever, it's just like, okay, work hard, do your internship, and you're gonna land a job right after college. And some people do. And there's been a couple of guys that I've talked to recently that have landed those jobs. And it was nowhere near the environment that they got when they were working as an intern for 3, 4, 5 years with a certain university, and it becomes very realistic that this is a game about people that you know and who they're comfortable with because, you know, while there is so many positions, a lot of those positions are not vacant because you stay with the same team, you stay with the same group of coaches, and it's very rare that someone strays away from that because, it's systems. When a head coach leaves and goes somewhere else, like, is that coach bringing you with them? Or if they don't, and the next coach comes in, are they keeping you? And there's only so many vacancies at one time. And I think that like you really have to be realistic about private sector, about different lanes that you might not have ever thought about. Like people don't know, but like for me, I think one of the biggest thing on my bucket list is I would love to be a coach of an F1 car
Uh,
driver. Like a Formula One car driver, like being able to train them is probably top tier on my bucket list. Like I love football, I love athletics and all of that, but I'm like, people don't know that. But I want to be able to keep myself open to like different realms like that because I've seen a lot of expansion and performance and the need for it. And I've even recently just talked to someone and he trains motorsports. Like, I would have never guessed that they have someone on staff that's doing the conditioning and really like being open to that because sometimes what you have in like your peripheral is just not realistic to the opportunities that you're going to have. And um, I just don't want people to be broken by the lack of opportunities after college.
I've got something to tell you at the end of this episode. But so, funnily enough, I know a coach that does a lot of like all he focuses is on more sports, and it's
Hmm.
like that conversation is great because like they're not running, they're not sprinting, they're not changing
Hmm.
directions. So like speaking to him is interesting because like he still works on strength, he still works
Hmm.
on power, he works a lot on conditioning, but like a fascinating piece to speak to him about is like the cognitive side of it. Like
Yeah.
because like not only are they sitting still, but like things are moving like 100 miles an hour. So like
Yeah.
I need to have peripheral vision well enough and still be able to concentrate on the road, see what cars are coming in and out, like
Hmm.
what is happening around me and what decisions can I make? How tight do I need to make that corner? Like there's a car there, what do I need to do? It's like it's fascinating to talk to him about because it's like it doesn't just become strength, power, speed. It becomes like, yes, great, but like cognitive, like what's happening, and then how can
Yeah.
I sharpen everything together? It's fascinating. More sports is
Yeah.
fascinating.
It is. It really is, and I think that that has opened it opens your mind up to a lot of things, and like you said, like, the benefits of having to do rounds at different areas, like, for PTs, like, they have to be in different settings, and it really makes me wish, like, there was more of that in Z, right? Because it's like, you get so sad to think that if you're not specifically in that weight room, that you're not getting that dream job that you had. But I'm like, there's so many people that just needed opportunity to see something different and like have these interesting conversations, and that can lead to a whole nother love for strength and conditioning or for general wellness and performance.
I think so. One issue that I think happens a lot is it's like strength and conditioning. The title isn't protected. It's like it's not protected title like these are or registered dietitians are. Like because of personal trainers, and now again, I've got in trouble of this. This is why I'm doing this disclaimer. Like not all PTs are terrible, right?
Hmm.
There's good ones, but like majority only go on like a couple weekends courses and they're fully qualified personal trainer,
Hmm.
right? Whereas like I spent 4 years at uni, I did accreditations, I've got two. Like there's things I'm constantly doing to refine and keep on top of what I know to apply to people. It's the same as registered dietitians. It's the same
Hmm.
as physiotherapists. It's the same as ATs, but they have protected titles. Like you can't just take a weekend course and call yourself a physiotherapist. You can't just take a
Right.
weekend course and become a registered dietitian. So like I think it would really help if there was some way where we could have that protected title so that
Hmm.
like if you say like I'm a strength and conditioning coach, it means something.
Yeah, because it's the one like, I feel like it's the one field that's always, like, grouped with something else or misconstrued because there be people that send me, like, athletic trainer, like, job openings. I'm like, "I'm not an athletic trainer." Like, at the college level, it's a completely different field, and like, "Oh, okay, what are you, just a personal trainer?" And I'm like, "No." Like, it's one of those things where it's hard for people to see that they're and in trouble or not in trouble, people are talking to you anyways. But I do think there is such a conversation that needs to be had because I talk to people about it all the time. And like to go through a book on your own time and it's open books, exam, and then you get a certification as a personal trainer. Like I was a personal trainer too. Like I got a certification way before I decided to go back to college. And it was great. But now that I've gotten into the schooling and I've gotten into internships and really like dive deep into people that put their lives into like researching and studying for the CSCS and really being a part of like the whole world. It's so much more. And I don't think that they get the respect that they're deserving of because it's not a, hey, I got my CSCS and I don't learn anything more. It's constant new, certifications, new things that they're taking on, new science that's coming out, new technology that you have to integrate. It's a constant job, just like other like PTs, ATs, and I don't think that we're anywhere near on that level of respect. Which you said it would be nice to have that type of protection of like having that understanding that this is a constant evolving and growing and educating yourself type of field.
Yeah. No, like because I see both sides of this world. Like, so I see like European side, US side. Like, because our name isn't protected, it also impacts on like the pay element
Mhm.
of it. Because like so I know this for a fact. I'm not going to name names or colleges or anything, but like I know coaches will try and outbid each other. Like
Mhm.
if someone asked for this at an interview, the coach will come in just under it. Like that starts devaluing what we do. So like if
Mhm.
we constantly like devaluing each other to get a job or to get a contract, and again it kind of goes back into that piece of like we're not protected. So like there isn't a minimum.
Yeah.
So it's like how can we stop doing that to each other, first of all? Like how can we
Yeah.
set these standards of okay, like I can't work if it's not at least minimum wage. Like
Yeah.
in the UK, coaches are making just above minimum wage.
That's crazy.
That's for like a 4-year degree, accreditations. And like here you actually have to have like some form of nutrition certification as well. And that's just to get into the room.
Yeah, the bare minimum, and I feel like, there's not a lot of conversation about that. The pay is nowhere near encompassing of the job and the work that you put in, and I think that it will eventually get there. I am optimistic that it will get there. I think that we're coming off of not to say that, strength coaches 20 years were not just invested but there's a lot of factors now to being a strength coach that I feel like we're not always in depth with programs a while ago as far as like constantly going to conferences, getting new accreditations, getting new certifications, different things like that. And I feel like there is no starting point. Like it's just like, okay, you get in there and then half of the time you have to be an assistant strength coach for years and years on end to get that opportunity to be a head strength coach. And then that's where the pay finally is somewhat equating. And it's one of the things where you're so heavily tied to the university or tied to that job for hours on end that you can't get a second job. So there's a lot of people that live very bare minimum for the calling and for the love of the game. And I think that it should be a more of a serious conversation about what they're making because they are invested in something that's such a pivotal and integral part of whatever sport or activity that they're hired on to do. And I just don't think that it's anywhere near where it should be. So
Yeah.
that's the hard thing too, because I know in one of my classes recently, we had people that would are coming in and trying to talk to us about different fields, and some of the students in my class were like, I would never want to be a strength coach. Like all the hours that they're putting in versus what they're making, it just doesn't make any sense. And so it was like me and maybe two other people that are like actually interested in being strength coaches, and we're just like, yeah, but if you love something, it's just like the same thing. Like you're looking to go into PT and you love that, and I'm pretty sure that not everything is about the money, and something made you start loving it. So it's one of those things where it's like fingers crossed that these conversations start heading in a way that is more conducive to being able to be financially more taken care of, and then also just respected in the field of athletics in general.
I think so. There's a great conversations about exactly that. It's like, okay, we don't make a lot,
Mhm.
and again, I've learned this through running my own business, and like not like so you're never going to just like get handed clients, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of what you were saying before, like word of mouth is very important. Like I prefer word of mouth. Like I don't advertise my coaching services. Like if you look
Yeah.
on my Instagram, it's just a podcast.
Yeah.
I'll sometimes post about my clients if they do something really cool. That I'm like, that's fucking sick.
Yeah.
But like I don't publicly publicize it. Like something that like I've been a part of these conversations and it's starting to be something I'm a bit widely talking about now because of the lack there of money is like try have hands in different pies. Like if
Mhm.
you're a strength coach, like not all your sources are going to come from coaching. Like I've got coaching, I've got the podcast, I've got
Mm.
other avenues that I make money from. So like I don't
Yeah.
necessarily always have to be there for it to make me money. And it's like again, it's protecting a little bit of myself because like I'm not just like fighting tooth and nail to get these clients in, get these opportunities. Like there's other things that's happening that's making me money. But like I've also started talking about is like you have to create your own money in a sense of like what's like your clients, right? They're youth athletes. You've got a great relationship with the parents who are essentially the buyers. Like that's your demographic. But like, how can I make myself more clients eventually? I work harder with youth. When the youth become adults, to be like, oh, actually, Coach Bree, I remember her. Let me reach back out to her, right?
Mhm.
So what I've started doing is like I created a program for 4 to 11 year olds, right? 4 year olds, like who in this industry works with 4 year olds?
Not many.
Not many, if any, right? Okay,
Yeah.
there's some. But it's like if I get them a 4 as they go through, it's not just my goal is simply to like make them better movers so that when they get into sports or into like life, they can still carry that through. But like I've
Mhm.
also created a linear path for me to always have some form of clients, right? I've
Yeah.
got 4 year olds and I've got 50 to 60 year olds. Like I've got the whole spectrum. I've got
Yeah.
athletes, but like I've got everything. And it's that thing of like when you're, and it kind of goes back to what you're saying is like, after I'm done with education, like, what am I going to do? Like, where's my paychecks coming from? Like, I think
Yeah.
that's why I connected so much to that one is like, is having that plan of like, okay, this is what's happening. I'm in college or in uni, but let me prepare for that to happen.
Mhm. I think not saying that, it's all gonna go that way, but I think there's a lot of people that are seeing the benefit of private sector, seeing the benefit of high school because it is a world where people wanna, enjoy the life that they're living. Yeah, they love what they do, but I think that, they're more realistic about their time and what they can invest. And not to say that that's ever going to cause a lack of strength coaches in college or professional, but when it comes to pay scale too, I mean, owning your own business and being able to charge your worth and getting 1 to 3 invested people who speak very highly of you in word of mouth can be such a drastic changer in your financial standing as a private sector coach. And just being able to make that impact, because I think a lot of us in S&C we really genuinely want to help people. We want them to understand the benefits of movement and movement very well. And so sometimes when you are in the spaces of working with teams and like the bottom dollar, the bottom line is like getting wins, making sure coaches are happy. Is the head coach, bought in and aligned? And sometimes it's hard to be able to thrive as a coach and be able to help as many athletes as possible when it's really like you really have to adhere to whatever the goal is of, your head coach, your GM, or whoever that is. And then in private sector, like you really get to work very intimately with your clients to make sure that you're helping the individuals. And I think that has more of a lasting impact. So I know that I see the benefits of working in private sector, and I think that I see more of the benefits of that. But I think that selfishly, like my bucket list of what I want is there. But I see people that make such an impact. Like I said, like people at Sports Academy here, they make such an impact. Like their athletes come back to them season after season and off season, or they tell word of mouth and they have youth athletes that come to them and there's such a benefit to that. And salary wise, they're making top dollar. They're making great money. So it's just like, why would I ever go to college? Why would I ever, go to, professional athletics when there's such an a ceiling, like there's not a ceiling in private.
Yeah. But like, again, I think so. Like, The only reason I'm not still in collegiate or professional is simply politics. Like that's one thing I can't be bothered for. Like win columns, I like if I'm working, I want to know that the athletes are getting the best. If they seem to be losing, that's not really what I'm focusing on. But like collegiate is still like if it wasn't for the politics, I would love to go back. Like
Yeah.
especially in the US where it's like you just get athletes who want to be there.
Yeah, and that environment is unmatched. Like, it really is, like, being in the college weight room or out of practice in a game, it's so unmatched, and I think that the politics of college and the politics of a professional, not just from a coaching standpoint, but athletes, you know what I mean? Like, you've been around plenty of elite athletes that have it, and it might not have anything to do with their physical, ability to provide to a team. It just is simply the politics that go behind it, and that is frustrating, and sometimes it can be discouraging. So for me, I'm like, I don't want to be in places where I'm just discouraged from doing the work that I do.
Yeah, no, like, and again, I do like I loved collegiate. It was just like it was a different mindset. I loved pro sports because again, like it was just different. Like their mindsets are different. But like again, the politics just drove me nuts.
Yeah,
It's just again, I'm not discouraging anyone from doing it. I'm just talking about my
yeah,
thoughts. Also, like
yeah,
if I don't love it, I'm not going to do it. Like
yeah,
that's how I think. Which is yeah, it's got me some trouble, but like it's just what I do.
yeah.
What's some advice that you would give people like currently going through the process of university, starting to intern, and like people who are kind of just going through that stage?
Yeah, I would say, not being timid, really being confident in the role that you're playing because I know sometimes that interns are more better like seen than heard, but this is a part of you really setting the foundation for your career. So I encourage them to always constantly, like I said, when I was at U of L, I'm always asking people, I'm like, let me look at the schedule. There's these strength coaches that are coming into town. Like, let me have conversations with them. And I think really keeping an expanded mindset of things that are outside of like your peripheral in the weight room are the most important thing. And I think that some of the opportunities I've gotten have come from people outside of my organization that were like, oh wow, I remember she reached out to me. I could tell she's very passionate about this. So take it for everything that you possibly can. Like rub shoulders with everybody, get to know your ATs, get to know your position coaches because again, college is a game about who you know and who you networked with, and running into those people could lead you into a new opportunity in the future. And sometimes it's hard because you do get some people that just have a love for the like I said, for the sport when you go into internships, but, like, really showing out. Like, do the grunt work, do all the things. Like, when it comes to, "Okay, well, I need someone to mop the floor, I need somebody to, make sure all the weights are turned right." Be that person because that discipline that you create in yourself is gonna be something that you really cherish when you're in that position as a strength coach, and make sure it's still learning because I see some programs that like they utilize their interns as more so of just like the help than making sure that you're actually setting them up for success and that they understand like why you guys have something programmed or why you're doing this day and what the focus is. Like ask those questions, make sure that you are having some of those classroom setting types of environments with whoever your head strength coach is or who's over your internship because the worst thing you can do is just be present.
Mm.
Like and not really taking that opportunity to the fullest. And I'm really blessed that I was able to get in an internship where I was not just present on the gym floor, but I was actually being invested in when it came to sitting down in a classroom setting and learning about what they were doing.
I think that's a great point to bring up. And again, it does take a little bit of research and, you know, reaching out to the coaches who you would feel like you would learn best from. Because like there
Mhm.
is heads of performance programs that do just look at you as glorified cleaners. So it's like and again it's always hard because like these snapshot conversations aren't always the easiest to see exactly what you're getting yourself into. But it's like it's doing your research before you reach out. Like
Yeah.
I know Clemson has a really great program
Mhm.
because like one they post about it, but two I've heard people who have come through there. And it's like
Yeah.
you're at uni, but you're also going through an educational process and the mentor side of it. Like
Yep.
as you go through your internships, there's classes. When I was at UW with Coach Mac, it was the same. After every day, so like our day usually went from like I think we had to be there at 6 and it finished at 12. From 12 to 2, we'd be in a workshop. And then after that you're free to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So it's
It's
like it's
important.
yeah, no, it's like it's making sure that whatever program you're going into, there's a teaching plan to it. It's not just like let's go clean wraps. Let's
Yeah.
go clean the
Let's
dump.
just be happy for the opportunity to, like, be able to wear the gear and stand, like, in a place. And for me, there are some programs that don't want you to speak to athletes, or don't want you to coach, and then there's some that, you can encourage, you can do certain things. And so definitely as an intern, I'd say, like, talk to whoever's over your intern program, talk to your other fellow strength coaches and say, like, "How can I make sure that I'm of value? Like, am I able to do this? Am I able to do that?" Because that's very important. Like, for me, I think that we had such a coaching switch dynamic in my second year, and I had to relearn what they were okay with and what they weren't okay with. And so one of the biggest things that the head strength coach said, he's like, "You're not afraid to talk to the players. You're not afraid to give, cues and different things like that." And he's like, "I love that." Whereas, the strength coach before that wasn't as big on us giving too much direction as an intern. But just being able to be confident in that and learning the players. And that's another thing is make sure as an intern you're respecting the athletes. Like respect the athletes, create great relationships with them. Don't go in trying to be like this super cool top dog, like do this, do that, because respect factor is probably the one of the biggest things to get people locked in and get them like invested to trust you because you know especially if you're going into a program and you're talking to some junior seniors that might have seen 8 to 10 other interns, they're like, "Yeah, whatever." So I say definitely build relationships with the players, build relationships with your dietitians, all of those things. It's so important just to make sure that you're being open-minded when you're going into an internship because you could be cleaning floors one day or you could actually be "Hey, there's a couple guys that had to come in later. You get to lead their stretch." Like, really take advantage of that because those small moments are gonna create such a foundation for you to be like, "Okay, this is exactly where I should be." And don't let anyone make you a glorified cleaner, like, that sucks. It does.
So the thing I've learned is like when you're an intern, you should watch more than you talk, and you should
Mhm,
listen more than you talk. Because like again, you're brand new, like you don't know anything, like everything
mhm,
or anything really. Like you know the theory of it, like and you've probably made a program or two. But like
mhm,
the I think the most important lesson I learned is like any task that you're assigned, make that the best thing you've ever done. Like if you get asked to clean chalk from the floor, make sure it's fucking spotless. Because guess
mhm,
what? At some point they'll stop giving you that and give you something better. And then it's like the barbells. Sick. Let me clean them the best I can. Like
mhm,
uh, I went from like doing the cleaning stuff to like being able to assign the interns tasks as an intern. So like
mhm,
go coach Mark and they'll trickle down to the head of internships. Head of internships would tell me like go and get everyone together and let's do this. Like these small tasks build. So like yes, you should again, this is why you should listen more than you talk. Be a sponge. And then when it
mhm.
becomes a place of like, okay, who could handle this task? They'll look at you because you've watched and you know understand everything.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I think that's important. And like to an earlier point you made, I had a conversation with Donnie Mabe, who's at Texas. He's the head of the Olympics there. And like he said himself, like if you're an intern, like whatever, nothing, if you're working for whatever school you're at, make that like your dream badge. Like
Mhm,
if it's like bottom of the pile, like high school, like do your job as if you were at Clemson, as if you were at UW, as if you're at Louisville, as if you were like at the creme de la creme. Like make sure that
yeah.
you're doing that job as someone from that uni would be doing because then
Mhm,
that kind of changes your perspective. Like, oh, I'm just at this school. Like, no, I'm a fucking this school. I'm going to make them the best I can.
mhm. And that's a great perspective to have because especially if you go to a D1 school and but what happens when you get a job at a D3 or you know what I mean? Like you have to have that same type of respect and motivation to be the best at whatever it is that you're doing to make sure that you're never missing out on opportunity. So I think the blessing for me is that before going to Louisville, I had the opportunity to be in the weight room at JSU, and like obviously, Jackson State, the resources that they have available to them are a fraction of what Louisville had, and I just seen their coaches constantly making the best out of what they had. You would never think that there was a lack, and the environment that they created for their athletes, the way that their athletes were involved and invested was, like, beyond for me, and so I was just like, "That's what I wanna have regardless of the setting, regardless of what job I'm asked to do. Figure it out, like, just make the best out of it." Like you said, look, for me, I wanted to make sure every single one of those plates were turned upright and they were all aligned. Everything, like going back over and over and over to make sure it looks great can be completely redundant. But the things that you don't think about so much might heavily impact other coaches around you to give you more responsibility, to give you, the respect of just being really bought into this career field. And I think that that's something that you can't take for granted is getting more opportunity, getting more responsibility, and it allows you to continue to grow. So take some of that work that you might not think is the best, but until there's some days where I missed like putting crowlers out and chains and all the weights, and yes, it was grueling in that moment, but it was so amazing. What I will say is for interns is like don't take for granted any of those moments that you're there because like yes, you get such a cadence of just go 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 go, but there are times where I sit back and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I was just pulling out prowlers right now, or I was doing X, Y, and Z and listening to like some of the quiet times in the weight room while the athletes are at meetings and different stuff like that." So like, don't take for granted any of those moments.
I had a conversation with my fiance recently, and she was sort of like, so she's an architect assistant. Because she's still an assistant, like, she sometimes thinks that, like, she doesn't know much about
Mhm.
architecture until, like, people who don't know architecture talk to her, and then she, like, breaks it all down, and she's like, "Actually, I do know quite a fair bit." And I
Yeah.
think that's the same as us, is, like, we can get so caught up in, like, speaking with each other where we're like, "Fuck, maybe I don't know as much as X coach." Like, when we're talking to just, like, ourselves or, like, even spouses, partners, like, or people who just don't know the industry, like, we also do have a degree. Like, we've worked for this shit.
Yeah. You work for it. There's so much work that goes into it. And like you said, when you're talking to other peers that are in the field, like it's just normal conversation. But then going to talk to a parent about some of these same ideas and philosophies, it's just like mind blowing to them. And you're like, okay, maybe I do really know my stuff. Like, and you just don't think about it as much until you're in those moments where it's like, wow, it's a blessing to put in the work that you can one day utilize and just be like, okay, I did this. And so one, I don't have my degree yet. Like I have seen that even in the past year of like me taking on more and learning and reading different articles. And I'm like, man, what I thought I knew a year ago, I know so much more now. And just like how many times I've downplayed like my stuff that's on my resume. People are like, you have a really good resume, regardless of you having a piece of paper yet. But like when you get there, like make sure you're giving yourself credit, even in the interim. So for sure.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Although, like, you're still at uni, like, you've done quite a bit. So, I would
I'm proud of
yeah,
that.
because like, good experience is hard to come by. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Bree, appreciate you so much for coming on
Thank
and
you.
spending some time with us. If you can sort of let people know where they can reach out to you or ask any questions.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Bree Vaughn, that's BreeVaughn underscore underscore. I'm constantly available by there, and I'm also available by email, which is Bree underscore Vaughn at iCloud.com. I'm always open to having conversations, giving advice, helping create connections, whatever you might need. But yeah, I look forward to having more conversations with people.
Perfect. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.